NFL topics that I want to dive into. First, the wide receiver market. We talked about this, right? You have at this point 6 non-quarterbacks making at least $30 million a year after the new Justin Jefferson deal. And it looks like you're going to have even more. We know Jamar Chase. As a matter of fact, there is a Jamar Chase update here for you. This was actually reported by Ian Rappaport earlier today, an hour ago. Bengal star wide receiver Jamar Chase, who has skipped OTAs and wants a new contract, is present for mandatory minicamp, sources say. He was there for media day yesterday and is in the building today. So he may be, they have the hold out, and the newest thing is the hold in. And I always say, man, if I was a player, I'd hold in. I'm not going to hold out. I'll go to the media days. I'll go to practice. I ain't got to practice, but I can go there. And as long as the coaches and everybody they're cool with me being there, I can hold in. I can go there and help, coach up the young teammates and mentor guys from the side. And it's called the hold in, but you don't actually participate. Oh, brilliant. Hold in looks at the fans. It makes you look better to the fans, because you hold out. You're not there at all. It looks like you abandoned your team. Like you want nothing to do with them. It looks very selfish.
Yes, the hold in. It, yes.
Yes, exactly. The hold in is like, no, I really want to be with my team, but I really want to get paid too. So this is the compromise is the hold in. If you hold out, it's like, I want to get paid, and I don't really give a damn about my team. That's the way it looks. Hold in looks like I really want to get paid, but I really want to be around my team too. So I'm gonna do both. I'm going to travel. I'm not going to practice till y'all pay me, but I'm going to be around my team.
Yes.
Love the hold in. Hold in is great. Hold in is like, it's like date sex. You know what I mean? It should be more. Once you hold in, you realize we should be doing this all the time. It's like when you have date sex, you realize there should be date sex all the time. Why isn't this happening? Why we got to wait till nighttime to have sex? Let's have sex during the day. When we got energy levels are real high. Boom. Right there at noon, afternoon delight. That would be a beautiful thing. So to me, that's kind of what the hold in is. Until you do it, you realize this should be the way. This is the way now, like the Mandalorian. This is the way. The hold in is always the way. Never hold out again. No, it's crazy. Anyway, I don't know why I got day sex on the brain. I apologize for that. That was random. Okay, how about this? Brandon Ayuk, he's also going to push the $30+ million range for his annual contract when he gets it. This reported by Pro Football Talk. It says Ayuk and the 49ers are talking, and Ayuk's goal is to beat Amon-Ra St. Brown's contract and come in at that number or higher. Okay, so now we got Jamar Chase is going to get $30 million. CeeDee Lamb's definitely going to get $30+ million. And now Ayuk, he wants $30+ million. So we're going to get to 7 receivers making $30+ million. There will be total, at least the way things are going now, there'll be 9 players, non-quarterbacks, making $30+ million by, let's say, the start of next season. And 7 of them will be wide receivers.
That's crazy.
Let that sink in. And it all would have happened in like a year. It would have been like a year when all that happened, right? Because Tyreek was on the first, so maybe a little over a year. Because when Tyreek got his deal, maybe 2 years when Tyreek got his deal. But still, that's a hell of a fluctuation in the market. Inflation has definitely hit the wide receiver position. Okay, let's we got Raj Rant, but we're coming up later on. If we have to table it for next segment, we'll do that because I want to finish talking about the NFL. Let's get to Dak's conversation here as well, because Dak, every time he talks to the media now, Dak's got to address his status with the Cowboys, contract negotiation with the Cowboys. I'm sure at this point for him is getting a bit redundant. But he's a great sport. That's why the media loves Dak, because Dak always has a great attitude. Always gives him a great soundbite. He knows he's a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. He knows I got to give him something. Exactly. So here's the latest Dak Prescott response when he was asked about his contract status and negotiating with the Cowboys, potentially playing on the last year of his deal.
But there's also some uncertainty with contracts for guys, last year for you, last year for some guys, every coach, all that stuff. Does it raise any urgency as you're going into this season?
This is the urgency you should always have, to be honest. So maybe guys who normally wouldn't feel it. So I don't mind it. Been in this position before. I'm a gambling man. Will gamble on myself and my guys. So not actually, guys. I understand it. I understand doing a lot of shit with that. So. Not that way. Just a hot. So, yeah, that being said, yeah, there you go.
There you go. So Dak Prescott holding court with the media. We've talked a lot about Dak and his contract status. You've even thrown out the theory that, hey, if he does become a free agent, maybe the Steelers, they can find themselves a franchise quarterback, which they have a tough time finding to do post Big Ben. But yeah, I mean, Dak's got all the leverage, and Adam Schefter talked about that last week. We played that audio. Dak's got all the leverage. I don't even know what leverage the Cowboys have unless they are actually thinking of moving on from Dak, which I don't necessarily, nobody believes they're seriously thinking about doing. But I mean, everybody in the Cowboys organization pretty much is on a contract year. But still to have this confluence of big time players that you have to pay all at one time, that's just mismanagement by the Cowboys. Having to pay Dak, CD, and got to pay Micah, and just all having to pay all those guys. And it's great you draft those guys. It's good, but you should have gotten one of these deals out of the way sooner, a little bit quicker and easier. And they haven't done that. So now I think the Cowboys are in a position where their leverage is almost non-existent. Dak, if he plays out this last year on his deal and is allowed to hit free agency, I mean, honestly, I don't know if I'm sure maybe he would be because it turns out what the number is, but I know he'd be somewhat offended by the Cowboys allowing him to hit free agency. Even if he re-signs with the Cowboys, how could you not be offended by that? And I would say that the chances of him re-signing with the Cowboys, if he is free agency, is going to drop precipitously. So the Cowboys are, like I said, right now, the only realistic option for them is to sign Dak, but they're not operating right now like an organization that intends on re-signing their franchise quarterback. And like I said, we don't know if they're still negotiating. Last time it was reported, they had cooled on negotiations. They had kind of settled in a place. And that place was right where we are now, pretty much purgatory, where we don't know what's going to happen with Dak and the contract. So I don't see a situation where Dak isn't the quarterback of the Cowboys going forward because they don't seem to have a plan B. Like, if you are going to move from Dak, and I'm not saying that that's not necessarily, that could be the right move for you. I'm not disputing that. If you want to move on from Dak, let's discuss it. But what is the plan B? What is the alternative? Is it drafting a quarterback? They don't have any draft capital.
Is it Trey Lance?
It could be Trey Lance.
But I mean,
is that a substantive plan B? Is that one that really a realistic one? Is that where we're going? Because that's a pivot where you have to be, if you're going to take Trey Lance as your contingency plan, if you're moving on from Dak and he's the next option for you, and he's got a really high upside. We know that's why he was drafted so high. You also have to be okay with potentially tanking, which maybe they are.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
if he's that bad, you might be tanking.
Well, and you're also saying if you're getting rid of Dak, you're probably getting rid of Mike McCarthy. So now you have a new coach, and what does the new coach want? Or are you getting a coach who's a pushover again and will just let you, just give me whatever quarterback and I'll come in? So are you getting a coach that is a football person that wants to walk in and go, I'm not playing with Trey Lance isn't my guy. That's not a starting quarterback. We need to get another quarterback. Or so if you don't have your coach either, that becomes an issue before you find out who your quarterback is because you have to find a coach that wants to coach that quarterback.
That's a great point. And then what do you do about CD if that is the case? Then what do you do about? Are you going to re-sign CD to the mega deal? If you and maybe you can re-sign him and trade him with the way the wide receiver market is looking right now. You probably could. I thought at first like maybe that number would be really high. Honestly, if you end up signing CD to about right around 30 million, it wouldn't be that crazy of a number to end up trading because now that is not as far-fetched and asinine as I once thought it was. I thought $30 million for a receiver was something you're not going to see, you're not going to see it consistently and you're not going to see that become commonplace. I'm wrong. I was wrong about that. It's coming.
And especially if you're going to try and, go with Trey for a season or go with a rookie or go with whoever you think you're going to go with for one season, you could still see CD for that one season and then trade him after the next season. So you re-sign him and then still trade him in a year or two. Once you say, okay, now we got to tank for a year or now we got to push, but whatever you do, you could still re-sign him and move on from Dak. I think that's for me. I just don't think you let CD go. And I get you don't want to have a quarterback, you don't want to have a wide receiver and pay him that much. I get it, but he's so good that I don't think you want to let him go. So I would say the trade value of you don't have to trade him right after this year. You don't have to trade him right after you give him the contract. But if you give him the contract, you can then experiment with the younger quarterback. Say, yeah, young quarterback, here's your great wide receiver. We're not going to stick you with a bunch of young guys that maybe, you're going to struggle through. But if you can't figure it out and then we have to rebuild more of this offense, then we can trade CD as part of that. But to begin with, you can just move on. Now, that's saying if you move on, I don't know if that's the right decision either. I probably wouldn't move on from him. I still think he's there. I think that, but if that's where you want to go, that's what the organization is going to do. I think you still bring back CD and go forward.
Yeah. With the way, I mean, because obviously you wouldn't want the rebuild to take long. You'd want a Texan style rebuild if you can. With 3 years and boom, you got this thing off and running. If you're going to do it. And I know Cowboys fans do not want to hear this discussion about a rebuild, but I'm just saying this is actually an option. This is something you have to discuss. Hopefully the Cowboys are already having this discussion, because if you are moving on from Dak, that is one of the possibilities that you could end up being that bad, or you can end up tanking, or you go Trey Lance, or you're just in rebuilding mode. And the only thing that I can think of why the Cowboys want to move on from Dak is they don't think Dak is good enough to put them over the top and to win the divisional round, to put them in the NFC title game. They don't think he's good enough to do it. And he's been there multiple times now, and they think maybe last year was a true regression. And from what they're saying, he's peaked. He's peaked, and he can't help us get over the hump. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think there's still some things you could do, but I understand. Remember the 5-year rule. You have never in NFL history had a head coach and a quarterback be together longer than 5 years and win their first Super Bowl. So that's the window.
Yeah.
When you get that head coach, you find that quarterback, you got about 5 years. And after that, the salary cap issues, and then, the all of the players that you have to pay, the bill kind of comes due, the message goes stale from the coach. Teams start to know your philosophy, weaknesses and strengths. So the blueprint on your quarterback, the blueprint on your coach, that's all out there now too. It's really hard in the NFL outside that 5-year window, man. It's hard. It's impossible. Literally no team has ever done it. So for Mike McCarthy and Dak are close.
Yeah.
They're right there. They're right there banging up against that 5 year. And I'll say even Jerry Jones, as unaware as Jerry Jones can be at times, he knows that 5-year window. Well. He knows.
And I mean, and you can say, as much as we say close, we go, they're close, but like Kyle Shanahan's close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's
close.
Fingertips.
Really
and I think that's where, if you want to say where I think the Cowboys, if they were that close, it's an easier decision if you keep Dak and you try and get past that point. But they're close in the fact of it feels like it's always really close, but once you get to the playoffs, it's not.
I know. I hate that for them too.
I know, and that's
with you.
It's the hardest part about trying to break down the Cowboys or anything, is there is no easy solution, because at the end of the day, it's something looming over them bigger than just one decision or one player.
Yep.
But if you say cap wise, and if they're not going to be spending money cash over cap, you may have to go with a younger quarterback and somebody that's not going to make $70 million a year, $60 to $70 million a year. If you're going to re-sign CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, it's just going to take up so much of your cap to be in 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's possible, but I mean, that's why they get paid a lot more money than we do to figure that out.
They do.
But yeah, I mean, in reality, I think if they don't re-sign him by camp, it doesn't feel like Dak's. It feels like this is Dak's last year, and then if he wins a Super Bowl, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Super Bowl. They'll pay him. They'll make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yes,
easily, and they'll just be Jerry Jones will ride that for another 20-some years.
Yeah,
whatever it may be. But yeah, when you win the Super Bowl, then it was all worth it. No matter what you pay, no matter what the bill is, it's all worth it. The problem for the Cowboys is, and I'll give a couple of stats to kind of put this into perspective. No organization has been, really kind of knocking at the door and banging on the door as long as the Cowboys, but haven't necessarily been able to break through. Right? The Cowboys are the first team in NFL history, this is Super Bowl era, to win 12 games in 3 straight seasons and not make the conference championship. First time it's ever happened in Super Bowl era that an AFC team or an NFC team won 12 straight games in 3 straight seasons and couldn't make the conference championship. And actually, I would like to see how many of them regressed. How many of them actually were making it to the divisional round and then actually lost in the first round in that 3rd year of that streak. I always throw this one out there. The Cowboys are the only franchise in history to have, with 2 quarterbacks, I'm a Romo-sexual, so I love me some Tony Romo. And Dak Prescott, these are two quarterbacks we're talking about, to play in 3 or more divisional round games without winning one. No other franchise has had that happen. Like they're the only ones. So they've been really, really close. And if Cowboys, if you're thinking, man, it seems like we've been, closer than most franchises in the last couple of decades and not been able to break through, you are right. You have been closer than any other franchise and haven't been able to break through. The Cowboys are 5-13 in the playoffs since 1996, the only team with 10 plus losses and 5 or fewer wins. So my point is that it's larger than Dak. Right, Dak is 2-5. 3 of his playoff losses, the defense allows 30 plus points, at least 30 points. By the way, if I give you the playoff record of some all-time great quarterbacks in playoff games where their defense allows 30 plus points, Tom Brady 2-3, Aaron Rodgers 1-5, Drew Brees 0-3, Joe Montana 0-3, Brett Favre 0-7, John Elway 0-6, Big Ben 0-6, Peyton Manning 2-4. You get it. It's really hard when your defense gives it there. So it ain't just Dak. It ain't just the defense. Hell, Michael Parsons, your best defensive player, had 1 pressure. 1. He had his lowest pressure rate of his career in a playoff game against the Packers. It's not just Dak. It's not just Michael. Not just the defense. It's a systemic issue with the Cowboys. It's a cultural issue with the Cowboys. And most of y'all would just say, dude, it's Jerry Jones. Okay. We can simplify it that way and just say it's Jerry Jones. We could and put it back on Jerry Jones. We could go that simple. But, that's boring sports radio because I think it's a lot more intricate and multifactorial. But yes, if you just want to go blanket, it probably is just Jerry Jones. And then why would Jerry Jones want to rebuild? Jerry Jones is old, man. Father Time is not on his side. That guy don't want to stick around for a rebuild. If anything, he should be all in. I know we can make fun of him, but he should be all in all the time because. But again, you don't know how much time he got left.
When you just point out the problem is Jerry. And then Jerry doesn't want to do this, but Jerry wants this, and Jerry wants that, but he doesn't want to do this. That's the problem because it's always right there until we got to change. Well, you got to just if you've got the pieces, if you just bring in the right coach and you bring in the people and the football people around it, you have everything. Well, I'm not bringing in the football people. I bring in a good coach. But everybody's got to say yes. And everybody's got to say yes. And so if it goes back to that always that you can get there, or well, you have the really good staff and you have everything else. Well, I don't want to spend the money on the players. I spend it on the staff, so I didn't have to spend it on the players. So I'm not going to go sign these big term contracts because I don't want to. I paid these coaches to go get me the best players and coach them up. So why do I got to pay this guy now $50 million because the coach is supposed to be the one that fixes them?
Yeah,
and he just always seems like it's one piece away. Yeah, and it's always Jerry just wanting to be Jerry in there. But yeah, then the solution, then the problem is. Me and you, Rod, we're both Texans fans. We bang our head against the wall every morning trying to figure out how does this work. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way.
Yeah, no, you're right. And like I said, and you're right about that. Jerry loves people around him that agree with him. And some of his best teams have been with leadership that doesn't agree with him.
Yes,
Jimmy Johnson and Barbara. Sometimes you need that tension, that creative tension. But I think Jerry ultimately he wants the credit, and he knows those guys. They also view Jerry Jones's presence as at times problematic.
Yes.
They think there's a chain of command and they think he's a habitual line stepper and violator of the chain of command. He is. He puts his hand there. He's doing the coach's job. He's doing the GM's job. He's doing the owner's job. He wants to do everybody's job. And coaches don't like that. Coaches love chain of command. Like, no, that's that guy's job.
How many
this guy's job?
How many owners do a impromptu press conference after every game? Like in the hallway and me with that. How many owners do that?
I don't think there are any. Maybe if there's like a big issue, like some
every
story or something. No.
That's what I'm saying. Jerry does that.
Not one.
Jerry meets with the media after every game.
There's not one.
And that's kind of where you're talking about it, the chain of command. I mean, you don't need to be talking. You don't need to be the front person in the news after every game. It needs to be the players. It needs to be the coaches. It needs to be what's on the field. And if the news is Jerry said this,
that is the news.
I
look for Jerry Jones quotes after every game.
We all do. I just say that's probably not the best thing.
Probably not. I've been doing this for 15 years. I always look for Jerry Jones quotes because they're great. And I think he does it on purpose. So he makes them a little bit saucy and salacious on purpose. Circumcising the mosquito. I want me some glory hole. He knows what he's doing. He was like, oh, Jerry's seen now. Jerry ain't seen now. Jerry knows exactly what the hell he's doing. Jerry's brilliant, smart, like a fox, man. He knows exactly what he knows. We're going to be talking about that. But does that help you win games? That translates to W's on the field. That's the argument. But does it translate to dollar bill, y'all? Oh, yes, it does. And that's the argument about Jerry Jones and Patrick's arguing about the cash thing, the cash over cap. Hey, there's cash. You can actually give yourself some salary cap relief by spending more cash. And the Cowboys are salary cap strapped right now. They're in salary cap hell. Give yourself more relief by spending more cash, but yet in cash spending, as I've told you guys, Cowboys last decade have been at the bottom of the league. They've been at the bottom, like 25 or worse in cash spending. We know Jerry Jones got cash, the most valuable franchise in the NFL. We know he's got some cash. I ain't saying he's got the most cash. He's got some cash, though. So will he put his money where his mouth is and spend more cash on these players to give himself salary cap relief? Now, you spend cash, remember, you lose that capital. You lose that, so you lose that liquid capital as a billionaire. And you may not necessarily recoup it. You'll, in terms of value, you will, because your franchise goes in value. But we all know value and actually liquid capital and what you're worth as opposed to what you actually got are very different things. And Jerry Jones knows that better than anybody. I think Jerry Jones is like, man, I ain't spending my liquid cash on these dudes.
Hey, Jerry Jones says, I'm not a gambling man, Dak Prescott. I'm not a gambling man.
He's like, you can have my salary cap money, but I'll in terms of the contractual value, we can talk about that. But I'm not paying y'all much cash up front. And that's another way that Jerry could put his money where his mouth is. All right. Good stuff there. We come back. We'll balance out Cowboys talk, but a little Texans talk here from Will Anderson, how he's taking his game to the next level, and what could be the secret sauce for Texas football this year.